Smoking a good time in this video. So Joe Biden's approval rating has remained high. It's been hovering around 53% or higher since he became the president. And ever since he first announced that he was going to run for president, it's remained around that 50% threshold, that 50% outright majority in the United States. He has hovered around that number for quite some time, and he's still hovering at that number and beyond. What are some of the reasons why Joe Biden has a high approval rating? Well, for one, he's not Donald Trump. For one, he's not alienating a good majority of the country. The way he's been handling COVID in terms of taking it seriously, as you previously recall last year when I would be talking about all this, Donald Trump wasn't taking COVID as seriously as Joe Biden is taking it now in terms of getting everyone vaccinated and trying to get the country back to normal. Trump could have did all of this what Biden is doing now. Had he taken the virus seriously early in 2020, Donald Trump perhaps he maybe gets reelected, maybe, possibly, if he just takes COVID seriously. And I said then that it would be a defining moment for his presidency, and Joe Biden is not wasting the opportunity. He's using it to catapult his approval ratings, his poll numbers, and it's panning out for him. It's really paying dividends to him right now. Now, when progressives have had opportunities to get things done, Joe Biden has basically laughed and spit in our faces. Whenever Medicare for All came up, other deep state neoliberal establishment hacks from the party, they voted it down. Same thing for canceling up to $50,000 worth of student loan debt. That shortly went out the window. So he broke his promise on Medicare for All. He even went as far as to say that he would provide a public option in terms of healthcare of our country. He said we would have a public option available at the disposal of every single American, but that just wasn't the case. He didn't do that. So he broke his promise on that. He said he'll cancel at least up to $10,000 worth of student loan debt when he started going back on what he said in regards to student loan debt, canceling up to $50,000 worth of it. Then he took it down to $10,000. Now it's not looking like he's going to do it at all. So he's broken all those promises. And finally, cannabis. Will Joe Biden legalize cannabis? I can say right now, if Joe Biden doesn't at least take cannabis off of the Schedule 1 list in terms of the hardcore drugs in this country, if he doesn't take cannabis off of that list, there's a good chance that he will be successfully primaried, and there's a good chance he will lose the next presidential election. Other members of the progressive wing, most prevalent speaking, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she actually was trying to give Joe Biden credit for some of the things that he's accomplished within these first couple months of his presidency, and she got significant backlash. And I give her backlash as well because he doesn't deserve any type of credit, because all he's been doing is forwarding the neoliberal establishment agenda, the deep state agenda, the deep state lobbyist agenda, keeping America the same, but advancing pragmatically, incrementally, keep private entities in play so that they can keep making a good conglomerate of money. This is the prison industrial complex in regards to cannabis, having it on the Schedule 1 drug list, having people still in jail for petty offenses, having petty joints or petty blunts basically still sitting in jail to this very single day. That's a deep problem. Or if it's the private health insurance industry, all the ACA did was allow more accessibility for people to get ripped off. So what am I saying? So initially at first, the problem was lots of folks couldn't even be covered at all to begin with. And it had a lot to do with pre-existing conditions and whether or not you could be covered. And also they could just flat out discriminate against you just depending on how they're feeling and what the guidelines are of their private insurance company to accept you. Now the ACA, all it does is make it to where they can't discriminate who they're ripping off. He said that he would be pulling out of Afghanistan and Iraq, bringing home some of the final troops from these countries. We'll just see, but there's really word coming out that he's not even planning on doing that. He's just saying that just to look good in terms of the public eye. Just like how he says how his Twitter account would tweet out, healthcare is a right, is a human right in this country, but at the same time, he does the bidding for the private health insurance industry and the big pharmaceutical conglomerate industrial complex industry. He does the bidding for all these people, but yet he's constantly saying those same low bar platitudes, delivering way less, way under the bar. So until we get more fiery progressives to become a part of Congress, and until we increase the progressive numbers, the progressive wing in our United States Congress, this is the type of presidency we're going to get, which is why the 2022 midterms are going to be an integral year for us. And now the rising star of the GOP, Ron DeSantis. He's the current governor of Florida, and now he's eyeballing a 2024 presidential run. And heck, why shouldn't he? This is the same man who got elected during a Democratic wave year. He beat Andrew Gillum, a Democratic candidate that the media industrial complex was pushing to the highest extent, that the neoliberal establishment Democratic Party was pushing to the highest extent. He beat Andrew Gillum in that Florida gubernatorial race during a Democratic wave year. So this is a man that certainly has bigger ambitions than just the gubernatorial mansion there in Florida. Florida. He's going to run for president. Donald Trump even said himself in an interview he wanted to say that Ron DeSantis would be a good VP pick. What does that mean? Well, for one, we know that Donald Trump sees him as a threat, because if he's saying something like this of him now, because Donald Trump really can't afford to bash Ron DeSantis. The thing that makes Ron DeSantis different, he has the gateway to the presidency because of Florida. Florida is big in terms of Republican politics. That's also Trump country as well. I could definitely see Trump picking Ron DeSantis, but in terms of a geographical sense, I don't really see it making sense in the long run, because you want to expand your base. We know you got Florida on lock, but you have to defeat this person. So Donald Trump doesn't run in 2024. The clear favorite is Ron DeSantis. He's doing everything that presidential candidates do right before they're getting ready to run. He's going on a media industrial complex tour within the GOP faction of the media industrial complex. He's going on a tour trying to rile up the same base that he has there in Florida, but across the country, that same demographic, that same white working class across the country. He's trying to tap off into that while at the same time being a populist within right wing, within the GOP. And he's polling the highest amongst the pack right now, other than Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis is the highest in terms of Republican polling right now. That's very telling. That's very telling. And it's at the same time that he's doing this media industrial frenzy tour within the right-wing populist faction side of things. So all that coming together, that's showing that he's a viable threat in terms of taking the mantle. And DeSantis, he's merely like Trump. The only difference is he's more polished in terms of what he's saying, but he's meaning every single thing the same way, just like Donald Trump. He's just selling it better, packaging it completely different, which could be beneficial to the GOP long run. So the Democrats, the neoliberal deep state party, they're trying to blunt his momentum by running former Florida GOP governor Charlie Crist. He was a Republican in the early 2000s, all throughout the 2000s, and now he's a turned Democrat as recently as 2012. He used to be the governor of Florida as a Republican. Now they're trying to run him as a Democrat to try to blunt Ron DeSantis' momentum, because if he wins again in 2022, he's in great position to run for the presidency and to actually win if Donald Trump decides not to run. And in some ways, if you're Donald Trump, why run? Why not let Ron DeSantis run? Why not go ahead and create a real Trump TV, a real Trump platform, reach out to the base, gen up the base for DeSantis, let DeSantis use your platform, endorse Ron DeSantis. And the GOP, in terms of a populist sense, in terms of this new GOP frontier that they're moving into, they do that, they're in great position. They're in phenomenal position if they can get that figured out. But obviously, Donald Trump is the biggest political phenomenon that we've ever seen in terms of just a populist rhetoric, going off the grill, going against the status quo in terms of what you can say. We've never seen nothing like that before. So Trump might decide to run again. The thing about Florida is that the Democrats have to understand and realize Florida is Republican country, it's Trump country. They slightly have the advantage, which is why they're running a former Republican. He's now a Democrat, so they possibly think they can tap off into some of those same voters, while at the same time using the Democratic electorate to push them over the finish line, which to some degree there's validity in that theory. But will it work? Will it actually pan out and work for the Democrats? Because if they're able to blunt his momentum, it gives a huge blow to his presidential ambitions, because at that point he's not going to be as strong as he once thought. So 2022 will be interesting for the state of Florida. I think the GOP has a slight edge, especially because of these new voting restrictions that Ron DeSantis has just signed into place, which, by the way, is beneficial for him politically, because this is what the base wants to see. It's just going to be hard for me seeing them unseat this powerful GOP incumbent that the media industrial complex as a whole, on top of the Republican faction of it, is pushing. It's going to be hard for me to see them dethrone such a man. So Biden better wake up. He better start passing some progressive initiatives, at least one, at least legalizing cannabis, at least canceling some degree of student loan debt. He better do something, deliver something for progressives that we really want to see. Otherwise, he could be in trouble. He could be in big trouble. Hit that notification bell. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Peace.